All right. You guys see the screen that says Introduction to Integrated Lighting Design?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you, thank you. We'll wait one more minute and then we will kick off. There we go. All right. We are going to get started. Well, welcome to Introduction to Integrated Lighting Design. This course is provided by CEDIA Professional Development. I'll talk a little bit about CEDIA and the organization. It is a continuing education unit credit class through the IDCC, and a very exciting and growing topic. So we appreciate you being with us today. And if you are an architect, interior designer, builder, other trade with CEUs, we'll collect your information to make sure that you get credit for attending today. And as I mentioned, feel free to ask questions as we move along and or provide some commentary. This is meant to be interactive. A little bit about me. I'm your instructor today. My name is Jen Mallett. I'm the CEO and founder of Level Up Automation. I'm also a certified outreach instructor for CEDIA. I've been in home technology design for about 20 years. I'm located right outside Boston. Here's a little bit of our team here on the right. Our company operates in Florida, Massachusetts, Ohio, New York, Connecticut, Louisiana, Maryland, and Virginia. Fun fact about me, my family has 4 cats, and all of those cats are named after food items. So a unique thing. If you take anything away today, I hope it's not just that, but thought I'd share that for you guys. A little bit about CEDIA. CEDIA is a nonprofit trade organization, more than 3,700 members around the globe. And we are essentially a highly trained and skilled at designing technology in the home. We are organizations and small and larger companies everywhere globally that really help with audio systems, designing lighting, automation, essentially taking all of the advancements in technology and being that resource and trusted advisor for you to make sense of it all so that you can help scope it for your clients or in your own home and make sure that things work well and are designed well together. The IDCEC is a partner in lifelong learning. They're the organization that helps us provide the CEU credits to you and have been a fantastic partner of CEDIA over the years. And this course is registered with the International Design Continuing Education Council. So we will submit those once the course is over. Our learning objectives today are fourfold. We're going to find out why early planning is important. We're going to talk about how to partner with a lighting professional, understand keywords to listen and look out for, and really ask the question. And when we mean ask the question, we mean that automated lighting in particular is a fantastic addition to any home. For a variety of different reasons, whether it be wellness or assistive technology for those who have mobilization challenges, or for energy efficiency purposes. There's a lot of great reasons to really have great lighting design within the home. And in order to make sure that it becomes a topic as people are designing their homes or renovating their homes, it needs to be as common as what countertop people are going to choose, right? What furniture are they going to choose? So making sure that it's really kind of a part of the conversation and not an afterthought is really going to be a big part of our theme as we go through this course today. So why is good lighting important? Good lighting important. We just mentioned a couple of reasons why good lighting is important. We'll look a little bit at poor lighting in a minute. And I think, you know, a picture tells 1,000 words, right? In this picture, you can see that there's, you know, even without knowing anything about lighting, right? You can feel that this particular space is inviting. This is somewhere you'd want to come in and sit, relax, maybe have a cup of coffee if it's the morning, or have a cocktail at night if that's what you like to do, and really be able to be present in the space. And, design like this and the end result of really what is a lot of good planning doesn't happen by accident. It happens through a lot of thoughtful planning around fixtures, the temperature of the light, the brightness of the light, the placement of the light, and different techniques to help accent key components as part of the interior design. So good lighting is important for our health and wellness. It's important for our ability to be able to enjoy life. It's important for energy efficiency. There's a variety of different really reasons why good lighting is important. Here's some typical lighting. Do people kind of agree that this is what is probably like a typical living room?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it looks pretty standard, right? So this is typical lighting without a lot of planning. It's not terrible, right? But it is kind of typical of what you'd see in a home. And a couple things to kind of point out here. You've got downlights at the top of the ceiling, which are cans, typically are referred to. You've got a little lamp in here. You've got a little bit of under cabinet lighting, a fixture in the dining room in the back, and then some light coming in through the window. So it's very typical. Nothing in particular says, wow, I don't want to sit here necessarily. It's not so bad that it's like I can't sit there, but it's not really inviting, right? To me, when I look at something like this, it is really close to what you'd experience in a doctor's office in the waiting room, right? In contrast, we'll take a look at good lighting and what that looks like. Now, this particular space, there's a couple things that really are happening. One is that there's a variety of different lighting sources that are being used and techniques. There's some down lighting like there is in the previous slide. There's also some accent lighting happening underneath the actual kitchen cabinets. There's natural light that's being accounted for, that's coming in through the window. And you can see this particular dining room or kitchen table, kitchenette, let's call it a kitchenette. It looks like somewhere you'd like to sit and have breakfast, right? If we were to go back to the other slide in comparison, this isn't quite as inviting. And a lot of that is through the intent in the design. This space is brighter. It's got different kind of use cases for the lighting. You've got this little kitchenette area we just talked about. You have some task lighting that's happening over the kitchen countertop for cutting and chef work. And you've got a little bit of accent lighting happening underneath that cabinet. So it's a much more, even though it's a smaller space, it's a much better lighting design. So let's get into what the 4 types of lighting are. And if you can think of, for example, this picture right here as a blank palette, if you will, and you are an artist and you are looking to really bring life into a space through excellent lighting design, you would leverage 4 different types of lighting techniques as part of that. And the first and probably the most powerful lighting design technique is layering. And that means exactly what you think it means, in that when you're looking at a space and you're thinking about how to light it, your main goal is to provide as many layers to the light as possible. So, for example, in this particular beautiful view, you have this beautiful skyline outside, right? You have some beautiful accent lighting that is carrying your eye outside the room to the skyline. If you can imagine that lighting wasn't there underneath the ridge here, looking out of the window, you might not, it would still be beautiful, but not nearly as eye-catching as it is with that accent piece of lighting that's being put underneath the ridge there to really provide some attention to the eye. Another layer of light in the forefront of this picture really are these two lamp pieces. Lamps are still fantastic, easy to use sources of light that can add a lot of layers to your space and are not typically needed to require an electrician. Excuse me. So there's lamps here. You'll also see on the ceiling, you've got some track lighting that's providing down lighting to the space at a different temperature than the lamps. We'll talk a little bit about the temperature of light and how that supports the space and why it's different to pay attention, why it's important to pay attention to how warm or how cool a light is based on the time of day and seating and the task that's happening. You'll also see further into the photo, if you go towards the back of the room, there's again another lamp, more download lighting, some up lighting in the corner. So you've got multiple layers of light. So layering, the more ability for you to really layer in accent lighting, some down lighting, balancing it with lamps, also complementing it with potentially LED lighting and other areas. The more of that you have, the more flexible the space is. And just as a closing kind of note on how important layering is, if you can envision this space, which really looks like a living room, right? This space might be used for a variety of different reasons. It might be a place where the people living here have cocktails with friends at night. That requires a certain level of lighting, right? You don't want cool down lights coming down as part of that. It wouldn't be nearly as relaxing as it would be with this sort of setup. It also could be that they, let's say in this particular room, maybe they have a ceiling screen that comes down for movie night for the family. In that case, the ability to have layers of light in here really provide a powerful way to transform this room into a movie theater. If you can envision the drapes closing, the screen coming down from the top of the ceiling, and the projector turning on, right? So providing a little bit of light where people need to have it, where they get up and are able to go to the bathroom if they need to, but it's a dark enough room where you can actually have movie night and be able to enjoy it. So that really is what layering is all about. And layering is really about having multiple modes and fixtures of light sources that are all controllable so that you can control the experience. So probably of the four, the most important technique. Downlighting, I think you probably are all very familiar with downlighting, and that means exactly what it means. It's any type of fixture that is providing light from above your head and down. And downlighting, oftentimes when you're working on a new build or you're renovating a space, downlighting is something that electricians are very comfortable with. I think we've always been able to see when those lights and those plans come through, there'll likely be a lot of downlights in the plans. It is in many ways, though, a very lazy way to light a space. And it is, you know, typically not, if you just run with downlights, not going to give you that layering benefit that you saw on the previous slide. You can see that really the two feelings that you get as a human when you're sitting in these rooms are very different, both on the fact that this one has multiple kind of temperatures of light that are playing, but also that there are, you know, there's light at the top level, at the medium level, at the, you know, floor level. And then there's also different kind of lighting structures layering back in the room. Whereas this is very kind of linear. It's just coming from the top down to the bottom. So downlighting is still great. Cans, very helpful, but really in excellent lighting design. downlighting should not be the only tool. And unfortunately, oftentimes it is the only thing that is installed in part of a design. If lighting design has not been considered, it's kind of that entry point for lighting design. So that's something to look out for. Lighting, downlights are good, but you really don't want to be using it everywhere. There is a limit to its capability. Yes, Jim. Did you raise your hand, Jim? Let's see.
I'm sorry, I was muted.
I guessed you might have been muted.
So as you're talking about downlighting, like that's your natural, that's your natural beginning, which as you're mentioning, like, yeah, it can be easily kind of, overpassed because it's like, all right, downlighting is like, it's so natural built in. It's those other levels of, again, even seeing a lamp is something we're naturally looking at. And to be able to control the room with those, cool levels, that's okay. So
Yeah.
I'm just,
Wrapping
I'm
your head
enjoying,
around it.
you're right. It's basic
Good.
when it comes to that downlighting, but anything you can add to that, that will make it, it'll make the whole room feel the way we're naturally seeing it. That's awesome. Right.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. And I think it's important also not to overdo downlighting. And that's what we see a lot of, where because it is so easy in the construction phase to pre-wire for cans and or track lighting, and it's been really kind of the primary way to light for a while, that what we see is just really too many cans in the ceiling. So sometimes when we talk about controlling rooms, and we'll talk about this a little bit later on how you can utilize technology, whether it be voice control or touch panels or smartphones to control rooms, we talk about wall acne, which is multiple light switches within a room, right? Way too many than what you need. Similarly here, you could call it ceiling acne. There's no need to have within a kitchen, 10 to 15 downlights in ceiling downlights. That's not going to give you the flexibility that you'd get within a layered integrated design. Great comment. Moving on to our third, which is uplighting. And uplighting is, wow, this is fun. This is fun accent lighting. Couple things to note about uplighting. You can see here that, what we have within this restaurant example, but also within homes, uplighting is very, very beautiful. It can be utilized to highlight art, pottery. In this case, I really love the way this wall looks on the right-hand side. That particular wall behind that bench seating would look completely different without that accent lighting. And I think that the other thing that you can do with accent lighting, uplighting, that's really exciting, is you can play with color temperature as well. And in this case, this is really a warm colored temperature setting for this particular light. And we'll talk a little bit about the temperature of light later, and the time of day and circadian rhythm and things like that. But I think this is a very good example where people in this restaurant who are looking to come in and relax and reconnect with family and friends really it feels very, very welcoming. And it's by design for really kind of highlighting this linear light that has been designed within the fixtures. So couple key things here. Linear uplighting in particular really requires planning in the construction phase. It is not difficult by any means. It's actually easy to execute on, but it does require some planning as part of the construction work, because once the walls are put up and the drywall's up, or in this case, there's wood panel planks, really the ability to retrofit in linear lighting is very difficult. I'll give you an example of, for example, the light that is really uplit on the wall there. There are multiple kind of versions of LED strip lights, which many of you have kind of seen. You can see them pop up all over the place. Matter of fact, if anyone has teenagers, they probably maybe have these in their bedroom. They've become very, very popular. Now, there's a lot of differences between the linear lights and the LED lights that are in your kids' bedrooms or in other places versus what's represented here in this restaurant. This restaurant has very high quality LED lights, and I can talk a little bit later about what that looks like and what to look for in terms of lumens for a high quality lighting fixture. The other place where uplighting is really beautiful is outside. And many of you may have seen that within outdoor landscaping and outdoor technology and lighting design, when people have really kind of beautiful pieces of foliage. There's nothing like at night seeing a beautiful uplight fixture, oftentimes in a bullet format. That's the format name of uplighting for outdoor applications. And a tree takes on a completely different life when it is uplit well at night, whether it be a palm tree in Arizona or whether it be a pine tree in New England with some snow on it. It really is a beautiful kind of application. But again, very similar to indoor uplighting, it does require planning. For outdoor lighting, it's typically trenching that happens, but a lot of the uplighting nowadays, exterior for landscaping is low voltage, and through just trenching can be installed, even in a retrofit situation. Any questions on uplighting? No questions so far. And our fourth type of lighting here is cove lighting, and this has become increasingly popular way to really provide nice accent lighting with both home and commercial spaces. So on the left-hand side here, you can see that the cove that's in the ceiling here essentially has controlled lighting that is there for this gym. And on the other side of the screen, you can see in the bedroom, there is essentially a cove light there. Typically, the thing to think about as you're planning for these type of applications, within the construction process, you're going to want to make sure you have the right power located there, and either an electrician or an integration company like us can help plan and work with really the architectural plans to make sure that whether it be a low voltage fixture, which they typically are nowadays, these are typically low voltage LED lights, whether it be a power supply, a simple power supply that needs to be located there, like a plug that's hidden away, or whether or not it's wired back to a central control system, that infrastructure is going to be there for the final installation. Generally speaking, with these, the main items that you're going to want to look for, besides just the planning and making sure that the power is there, is just understanding how much you're going to need. So the measurement piece is really important, and really just kind of taking the footage that is going to happen, understanding the length of the LED strips that you're sourcing, and usually a company like us can help understand what the right product mix is for that, what the footage is, and understanding where you're going to need extensions to not have gaps within these cove lights. Because typically what happens within these, each manufacturer that really provides a good quality LED cove light option, they typically run during certain lengths. So let's say it's an 8-foot run for the LED strip. And then what they'll have is they'll have connectors that take that and, provide that full comprehensive, in this case, it's a rectangle all the way around the room. What you want to make sure you look out for is really understanding if it's not one line that's running and one strip that's running around the whole room, what the connectors are and what they look like. You're going to want to make sure that you don't have any gaps in the light itself. And I am going to show you for an example. Here we go. This is actually an example of a linear light. This has essentially, it fixes on the back. There's a 3M tape that comes in. We have used this particular product underneath kitchen cabinets, within cove lights, outdoors or outdoor applications for this where people may want it underneath some masonry. Products are completely outdoor rated as well as indoor rated. So there's a lot of flexibility with these. And this particular unit comes in an 8-foot stretch, and then there are 6-foot connectors that run through it. I'm going to also show you, you can change the brightness of lights like this. So I'm going to turn it up and then I'm going to turn it down just right here from my phone so that you can see it. You can turn it off and turn it on. And then you can also change color. So I just moved it to more of a warmer tone. And I'll show you one more where it is a bluer tone. So very quick to change color, to change brightness. Very easy at the end of the installation to install. It really is, it's a tape and stick, and really kind of effective way to provide great accent lighting within the home. Any questions on cove lighting before we move on? It's increasingly been a very popular place to put accent lighting. Nothing right now. All right. And last but not least, track and linear lighting. This is something that many of you have seen over the years. I think it was in the 80s where really track lighting, which was typically just tracks, right, with spotlights running off of the track, became very, very popular within lighting design. Well, what we want to share with you in this course really is that track and linear lighting has come so far. So no longer is it just kind of that track that is seen on the ceiling with the bulbs kind of sticking out. You can pretty much design track and linear lighting with whatever your imagination can think of. You can create shapes. You can create truly kind of like pieces of art with light. So if you look at this home gym that is on here on the left, you can see that, you know, that is completely custom linear lighting that is in the ceiling for a particular design. That could be just the designs of the lights like they are, right? It could be in the shape of a heart. It could be a variety of different colors. So track and linear lighting has come, you know, so far in 2023 that you can really do just about anything, whether it be in the wall, in the ceiling, in cove. The photo on the my right anyway is a kitchenette, looks like, and you can see one of the cool things that they did with the linear lighting is it's actually up in the cove, right? And that's important because while this is fantastic and really flexible stuff, what you don't want to see are these individual lights, right? So there's ways that you can really take what you want from the light, which is really the impression of light, and not actually have the bulbs. And that is, I think, a very beautiful way that it was designed here, where you don't see that. Within a kitchen environment where linear lighting is very popular nowadays to be able to provide accent lighting, one of the best ways to do that is to really work within the construction process to understand you can either have that track of lighting notched in. A lot of great cabinet makers are now becoming much more familiar with it, where it's just part of the planning process, making sure that there's a notch in there for this LED strip to actually sit into. We also have seen, if that's not possible in retrofit situations where we're adding lighting, is just a piece of 1/4-inch round mold will be just enough so that when people are sitting on an island, they're not going to get any glare from the LED lights that are going to impact their experience there. So track and linear lighting has come a long way. And last on this light, we talked about this earlier, lamps are still just amazing ways to provide layering within light. LED bulbs are now Wi-Fi. You can provide a lot of different temperatures of light within this. Our favorite place and probably one of, I think, the most impactful places to put warmer light really is within the bedroom. And we're going to talk a little bit about health and wellness and lighting a little later in this course. And I've brought an actual lamp with me so you can see it, but very similar to me turn on this up to turn off this other light here. There we go. So this is a bedroom light here, and within here you can see, I'm gonna take this one. You can see that this is a cooler temperature of light, right? So this is more of task lighting. This is the type of light you want to see in the middle of the day, right? When you go to a doctor's office and let's say you need to have surgery, if you were to walk into that surgeon's room, it would be a very bright and very cool light, just like this. And that's because it's the best light for us to be able to see in. Contrary to that, when you go to sleep at night, and I think what this picture really highlights well with lamps, you don't want to have bright light. And there's a lot of science around how your eye sees light and how your body reacts to it, how your melatonin is produced at night, and how well you sleep. So what's really nice about lamps, it's one of the most inexpensive ways where you can really bring in great light. So I'm going to change this to a candlelight. You can see it got a lot warmer and a lot dimmer. So this is great for night reading, great for winding down, and great for being able to get ready for bed, you know. So lamps are great. Do utilize lamps in your lighting design. Lighting for cabinets, built-in, and closets. We talked a little bit about this earlier, and in this application, you can see it is the power of this LED light, right? And how it can be applied in different places. The big takeaway here is really working with the cabinet maker. In this case, is a custom cabinetry that is put together, and making sure that all of the different light sources are going to be where it needs to be. In this particular layout, you'd also want to know how many zones of light does the client want to control? Is this all one zone, or are some of the zones of lighting going to want to be controlled individually? So for example, maybe the client, and I'm just making this up, but maybe the client for the top layers of light in this room wanted a particular color, and then the bottom lighting is a different color. If the client wants something like that, maybe it's you know, a sports team, they want half of the room to be gold and the bottom half to be green, for example. In order to do that, you've got to have two separate zones of light. So in this case, it looks like one zone of light, which is just providing a lot of nice lighting within these cabinets and really kind of highlighting the artwork and books and things that this client has. So key takeaway here is planning, working with a cabinet maker, make sure you understand what the design is, architectural plans, understanding where the light source is, so that when it comes time to actually executing, you're going to be able to put this in, and or work with a company like an integration company that specializes in this, so that you can understand what the capabilities are. Color changing light. We talked about this a little bit as well, and I demonstrated a few ways that color changing it has really impacted our home design. You can see here on the right in this outdoor space just how different it looks with this blue hue. You could imagine if this were orange or green, the vibe of that space would be completely different. And that really is the power of color changing light. You'll often see these in restaurant applications, movie theaters, nightclubs, things like that. But the last 5 years or so, we've seen a huge increase in bringing color changing light into the home, and doing it in a way that really is very aesthetically pleasing, and is just another way for that homeowner to express who they are as an individual. Color changing lights here, you know, there's a couple different ways to control them. You can control them through Bluetooth applications, Wi-Fi applications, and or what we see really in the higher level homes really is centralized control systems, which allow people to control their lighting either through voice control or through their phone app or through a wall touchscreen or even through buttons on a wall. So color changing is a lot of fun. I think done very well is beautiful. Done not well and not planfully can be a bit obnoxious. To be honest, it's not really done well, it could not look very good. But it generally is a lot of fun. We're going to talk a little bit about, we talked about lights, like fixtures, different types of ways to layer light, different modes of light, down lights, up lighting, track lighting. We talked about all that, right? But the most powerful source of light, do we know what the most does anyone know what the most powerful source of light is? Any guesses?
Sun.
The sun. You are correct. So the sun by far is our most powerful light source. And that's really important. So while we didn't talk about it in the previous slides, understanding the natural light in a space and how it changes the space is really important. And really the most powerful way to manage that within a home environment is through shades. So I have just, for example, through our automated shading system, opened our shades. And you can see that this entire room and space here has changed, right? So as you're looking at lighting design, it's really important to understand what is the natural light that is coming into the space. How many windows are there? What does the light look at like during particular times of day? What is the overall feel that that client is going to want to have in that particular space? So for example, this space that is here on screen, you can see this looks like a little breakfast nook, a nice place to sit and have coffee, breakfast in the morning. There's a lot of light coming in here, right? So you can see that on one view, the shade is all the way up, providing all of the natural light that is available. And then on the other side, you've got more of a halfway application where the shade is actually automated to a halfway, which provides a completely different type of light. So when you're looking at, lighting design and really trying to understand it more, natural light is really important to look at. And within the context of shades and automated shades, it used to be that there were only wired automated shade products. About 10 years ago, battery operated shades came to market and they completely changed the game, because it meant that even in a retrofit kitchen remodel or other application where the building was already built, you could add automated shades and not just have manual shades. And that's an amazing thing in terms of controlling light. For example, in my kitchen, where I'm providing the class today, our shades are set so that, they're connected to the internet. It knows what part of the world we're at. It knows when sunset and sunrise are. So in the morning, all the shades in the kitchen are set to automatically open. And when dusk happens and we're cooking in the kitchen and want some privacy and don't want to have the whole neighborhood see what we're cooking, the shades go down automatically at sunset. And that's without even doing anything, not pressing a button, not saying anything. The system is just automatically knows when sunrise and sunset is and automatically works. And that truly is what a smart home is. When a product works like that, where you don't have to do anything, it's not clever, it truly is smart and connected and really kind of helps provide an experience in your space. The other thing I want to mention about shading and controlling that as part of your lighting design, and you can even see the sun is kind of today coming in and out of the clouds, and you can see that the way I look on this course looks different based on that, right? But within shading, you're going to want to really kind of, whether or not it's your own house or whether or not there's a client that's interested in shades, there's different types of opacity to those shades. So these particular shades are meant to provide some light filtering, but not complete light filtering. So I'm going to give an example. Let's see if you guys can see this. These are two different types of shade fabrics back here. This is a less than 1% shade fabric, and you can barely see it, right? I'll bring it up here so you guys can see it a little closer, but you can see it's got a lot of light capability to come through it, right? It's a what we call a 1% fabric. And then we have over here, this is a 3% fabric. So what this does is it allows less light to come through than the earlier version, the 1%. There are even blackout shades. So those shades actually are designed and produced to provide no light coming in. And they're often utilized in things like bedrooms and or dedicated home theaters where you want to essentially have a completely blacked out room. Those are called blackout shades. But this is some examples. So as you look at kind of lighting design, just know that the sun is your most powerful light source. If you have a room that has windows in it, you're going to want to consider that as you look at how people are experiencing that space. And fortunately, there's a million different types of fabrics and everything from, minimally light filtering to completely blackout shades to have the ability to be able to control it. Any questions on that? It's something that people don't think of necessarily when they're thinking about integrated lighting design is actually natural light. So hopefully that's a tip that you guys can kind of take away and give you a little bit of an edge. Let's talk a little bit about light quality. And this is really important because you're going to see, if you haven't already, just more and more products hit the market. And all these products are not the same. So if you see a light, let's say you see a light on Amazon for an LED light strip for, let's say, $20. And then you're looking at a different line of lighting, and maybe that's what looks to be like that same light is $200. Well, in lighting, generally speaking, you get what you pay for. And I'll talk a little bit about the difference in lighting. And, really there's a couple key things to think about. One is really how the color is rendering. And that is the quality of the light itself. Not all of these little LED pieces are equal. So the quality of the light is really, really important. So that's part of what you're paying for. The other is lumen output, and that's how bright the quality of that light gets. And typically higher quality lights have higher quality lights have higher levels of lumen output. They're more powerful, basically. And then lights that are of a higher quality also typically have the capability to be tunable, meaning that the temperature of that light not only can change color, but also can be tuned to natural circadian rhythm of what's happening outside, for example. That's a good example of one. And I'll show you a little bit about tunable light in a minute on our lamp here. It's kind of very similar to what you saw on a very basic level when I showed you a very cool bedroom light versus one that's very warm like this and good for nighttime. So that's really what's different in the price of the fixture. I will add probably one more point that higher quality and usually the lights that are more expensive typically have a longer shelf life. They're going to be more durable. And they're just going to last longer than a lower quality light. One other thing to think about with these lights is that if you are looking at a client or working with a client that is going to want a control system, as part of it and really kind of create experiences, whether it be integrating music and shades and lighting all together to kind of create a vibe and an experience, which is really what the goal is of most integrated home automation systems. You're really going to be looking at the higher quality lighting products that are more expensive. And the reason is a lot of the top control systems in the world, they work with the best lighting products. And they don't open up their API and control technologies to some company that they, maybe has been in business for 5 years and is looking to kind of race to the bottom on lighting. They're not interested in opening up integrations with those companies. They're really working with the companies who have been working in lighting for a long time, provide a very high quality product. So I think that's a really important thing to kind of like take away from this, is that not all brands are the same. They look the same to the regular eye. They would look the same. Maybe even some of the specs look the same, but just be wary if you're looking to source a lighting name that is not, been in business for 10 to 15 years at least. Most of the big companies like Lutron or General Electric or Sylvania or Legrand, they've been in business for, 40, 50 plus years. And there's a reason. We'll talk a little bit about brightness of light. So I mentioned this a little earlier, that, essentially when you're looking at lumens, a good lumen light, you're really going to want to see at least 1,000 lumen output from that light. What you'll see on some of the cheaper lighting products, you might see something closer to 200 to 250. And that's a really kind of like important thing to kind of consider as you're looking at specifications on a box. Really is how bright can that light go? So I'll do a quick demonstration with this product that I have here so that you can just be able to see it. And just a moment. All right, what color are we going to go with? What do we think? Blue? We'll go with blue. Let me see here. So, this is blue at the max lumens for this particular light, right? And when you scroll down, not scroll down, but I move down the bar for this particular curl, you can see that the actual brightness of the light is changing. Now, this is like, I would say like a mid-level strip light. So it's not a cheap one. It's not a high-end one. What you'll notice is I'm making kind of changes here, is that you can kind of see it get brighter and then get less bright. When you're working with the high-end lighting, it does not skip a beat. It's a lot smoother. So I'll just run through this. This is going to be a kind of a little bit of a gradual down. You can kind of see it like jumps just a little bit. The higher quality the LED strip is and the light is, the more smooth that dimming capability would be. Any questions on brightness? No? All right. CCT, correlated color temperature. And what you see here in this graphic, light is measured, like if you think of temperature, right? It's in the US, it's measured by Fahrenheit and degrees, right? In the lighting world, temperature of light is measured in kelvins. And correlated color temperature is another kind of keyword as part of lighting design. You can see at the 1000 level, you can see it's very warm. 1000 kelvins all the way up to 10,000 is very cool. It almost looks blue, right? And this is kind of very important in lighting design, because what you want to understand is, what is the use of that space? We talked about the surgeon's room earlier. The surgeon room absolutely needs bright lighting and cool lighting. You do not want to put the surgeon to sleep, right? They need to be absolutely kind of on it and feeling very, very alert. The bedroom or You know, dining room at night, you're really going to want something around the 2000 to 3000 Kelvin level. So when you're sourcing lighting or you're looking at lighting design, the actual fixture and the light bulb and or light strip or whatever the light is that you put in, you're going to want to make sure that if that space needs to be flexible, surgeon's room doesn't need to be flexible. It always needs to be super bright and cool. But if it needs to be flexible, then you're going to need to make sure that the specification for the product that's in there is going to be able to be flexible, and that you're going to be able to take the correlated color temperature and really be able to reflect the use of that space based on the time of day and who is using it. So really, this is like an important slide because a lot of people don't understand the temperature of light. They just know that when they're in a room and they're doing a particular thing, either the lighting is good for what they need to do or it's not. I think many of us have gone into a restaurant at night where it's lit really well. It's nice and warm and it's relaxing and you feel like you could just spend a few hours there, versus going to a different restaurant that isn't lit well. And you might sit down, eat real quick, and then get ready to go home, right? So it really makes a big difference, the color temperature of a space and what you're trying to accomplish. Circadian lighting and tunable white and human-centric lighting really, this says it's an upcoming trend. I'd say it's like definitely here. We are a society that struggles with sleep. In many ways, we have blue screens like computers, or blue light rather, from computers or phones. I think most of us have known, like even an Apple or a Samsung has paid attention, and now there's night mode on our phones and our other devices. And the reason is that, you know, depending upon the time of day, your body needs a particular type of light. And if you can think of humans 1,000 years ago, right? You know, we didn't have electricity and we didn't have light bulbs. This has all been really, when you look at human evolution, this has been a rush to have all of this electricity and artificial lighting around us. And it wasn't kind of part of how we evolved. The biggest light source we have, the sun, is really how we as humans are engineered to experience light. So one really easy way to kind of understand circadian lighting is to think about sunrise and sunset. When you wake up in the morning, and if you can look at this screen here, you're really kind of, let's say it's 6 a.m. and you look out your window, you're going to see a nice kind of yellowish glow, right? And then as the sun starts to rise, it becomes a little less and less orange, right? Becomes kind of more this whitish color, and you get this high alertness noon color, which is essentially where we're most productive as humans, typically is in the middle of the day. You can think that, you know, that would have been the time we would be out hunting and gathering, or collecting water and needing to be able to see things, right? So midday, really, if you can think of that surgeon's room example, it's that bright, productive light. And then in the afternoon, things start to wind down a little bit. You have some great coordination happening. You're all warmed up. You got some great reaction time. And then the evening starts to kick in. And this is where, as a society, because we have all this blue light, either because we're waking up in the morning and we're checking our phone, or because we're looking at our phone or television at night, we get exposed to all this blue light that is naturally our body is not used to. And, you know, a lot of people supplement their sleep with melatonin. Interesting fact about body and melatonin production. Melatonin is produced through the pituitary gland. There is research, very good research, I think Harvard reported on this, that the pituitary gland produces melatonin. It's tied to sunset. So the sunset and that warm kind of temperature of light is what kicks off your pituitary gland to produce melatonin. to help you understand, okay, it's time to like wind down and sleep. So by having all these blue lights, whether it be LED lights in the ceiling for downlighting or televisions or everything else, it is messing with our sleep and our melatonin production. And as a society, we're popping melatonin. But really, one thing that all of us can do is really make sure during, nighttime is 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, depending upon the time of year, right? You start to have warm lighting throughout your home. It's really going to help the health and quality of yourself and everyone in your family. So that's what circadian lighting is. And nowadays, what's really great, and I showed you earlier here in the class, you can change the temperature of light. It can be automatic. In our house, for example, all of our bulbs, and these aren't expensive bulbs, they're, $20, $25 bulbs. They all automatically, based on the time of year, get to a warm light just like this, starting around 6 or 7 o'clock at night. We also have, if you go into like place like massage places or spas or things like that, you'll notice that depending upon the time of day and where you're going, or if you're getting a massage, you're not walking into a bright white room, right, where it's noon lighting. You're walking into something that's softer and warmer, and that is all about helping your body kind of relax, bringing down your blood pressure, and being able to unwind. So it says it's an upcoming trend, but it's here. And I think a really important thing to kind of understand. And the good news here is that the technology and capability is here to integrate this in people's lifestyle. This is color rendering, also referred to as CRI. And as we talk about the quality of light and what's being kind of represented within your lighting design, this is really how well that light actually is able to interpret the true color of an item. And so a great example of this, if you can look at, if you take like paint chips, for example, and be able to look at those in different scenarios and different times of day, they look different, right? And so that's a good analogy to kind of segue to say, based on the light you have and the quality of the light, let's take a piece of artwork in the home that is an oil painting. That particular piece of art is going to look different based on the light that's on it. And even with tunable light, going back to our previous slide, lighting has the capability to take a piece of artwork that may look, let's say it looks like it has orange tones. And let's say you apply a different light source to it and you see a completely different painting. Different things pop out, different colors, different shades, different objects. So lighting is really a powerful way to bring out great artwork and interior design within the home, whether it be pottery or artwork on the wall. Color rendering and the quality of the light and the lighting fixture you have is really going to dictate how that light kind of shows up and truly provides great color. So cheap lights do not have great CRI values. So that's another difference in terms of like cheap lighting applications and ones that are truly high quality. Wrapping up, we just have a couple more slides here. Looks like we're right at 1 for right now. I would say, like, how do you get started? Planning starts early. And we'll just look at a quick architectural design. So being able to take a look at a space, its use, a needs assessment, whether it be commercial or residential, how is the client using that space, or if there are multiple clients and multiple rooms, what are the needs of that room? Planning starts early. The further on in the process that you have, if you've got walls up already and drywall, I mean, it is very hard to kind of like retrofit stuff. It's doable, but the earlier it starts, the better. And design documentation kind of as part of that, whether it be like an integration company like us supporting the lighting design, or if you're a lighting designer yourself or an interior designer, really kind of taking a top level view of the plans of the space, orienting with the client, understanding where's the accent lighting going? Is there cove lighting? Where is uplighting going to be a powerful place to feature something that's important to the client? Making sure that the entire space just doesn't have a million downlights, right? Which is like the de facto lazy way to have lighting design. Understanding how the lighting is going to be controlled. Really, really important. So there's simple things like wall controls. This one, for example, it's upside down. It could say good morning, good night. And then there's some up and down arrows here, which allow people to dim. So this is one mode of control. There's also remotes that control. There is smartphones that control, and iPads. There is voice control that controls as well. So there's a variety of different ways to control the light. Understanding early how the lighting will be controlled is really important, because you can put amazing fixtures and high quality elements in and great design. But if the client can't control it and turn on their bistro, it doesn't matter. If it's not simple to control, it doesn't matter, right? So we really feel like figuring out how is this going to be controlled is really, really important. And is tunable lighting important to the client? Do they want to have the lighting within their house match the circadian rhythm and match what's happening outside with the sun? That's absolutely a capability that we have to be able to scope. So those are the type of things that you're going to want to plan: placement, what type of light, and the use of the space. So just to recap here, early planning is important. Partner with a lighting professional if you're not a lighting professional already. And there's some really great places where you can work with lighting professionals or integrators. I mentioned CEDIA earlier. Many CEDIA companies like ours, we are trained in lighting and lighting approaches to help support it, whether it be inside or out. You really want to be listening and looking out for mostly how the space is going to be used. And figuring out how can you put multiple layers of light in there to provide a lot of flexibility within the space. And definitely ask the question. We find that when early planning isn't happening, it's because the client found out later that they could have automated lighting and color and all these different capabilities, whether it be inside and out, and they just didn't know. So make sure you ask the question early. That's mostly what we have for the education piece, and I'll open up for Q&A in case anyone has it. Just a little bit about Level Up and how you can get started. Our company, as I mentioned earlier, the founder of Level Up Automation, we create smart homes and intelligent buildings. We're established in 2016. Our vision is really to be the best and most knowledgeable technology automation company in the world. And our mission is to be trusted advisors, really to interior designers, electricians, builders, architects, homeowners, so that all this technology keeps changing. We can be on the pulse of like what's important, what brands are going to be right, what works with what, so that people can have a good technology experience of something that really supports their home, something that's easy to control. And we focus really on lighting, smart energy and climate control, entertainment, and safety and security. Multiple interface options from in-wall to tabletop, mobile, remotes, voice. We operate in multiple markets: Ohio, Massachusetts, Maryland, Louisiana, Connecticut, Florida. We just actually launched in Virginia as well. These are our team members. And in 4 of our markets, we have retail experience centers, most of them with a lot of this lighting technology in place for you to actually see the app or apps and be able to understand what the different options are for light switches and interfaces, whether it be touch screens. We really see them as unique places where we can help people understand what's out there and so that they can make informed choices for themselves. And we operate in Connecticut, Florida, Massachusetts, and our Ohio location is in Cincinnati. And I just wanted to say thank you. I hope this was this is an introduction to integrated lighting design. I hope it was helpful, a good starter point for you between the different types of lighting you can provide, considering natural light, the sun, our biggest source, circadian lighting. We run these courses once a month. Our last course was all about outdoor technology design, and prior to that, we had hidden technology in the home. So we run these once a month, all with kind of different topics on technology and where it's headed to help keep you on the pulse of what is important to know. So does anyone have any questions before we wrap up here today? Doesn't sound like it. All right. Well, thank you for your time, and I hope you all have a great day. You'll be getting a little note on an attendance survey, see what you thought of the course, and I hope you join us for the next one. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me anytime. Happy to answer them. Take care.